Welcome to today's reading from Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram. We are reading from the Uttara at the moment. And let's begin. Let's invoke God's presence. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lord Brahma then said to Vibhishan, "You may also accept a benediction from me according to your desire." Vibhishan replied, "My dear Lord, since you are pleased with me, the goal of my life has already been achieved. My only wish is that my mind may always remain steadily fixed upon the path of virtue, even amidst the greatest of all difficulties. In addition, if you desire, please grant that the knowledge of the Brahmastra appear to me upon command, even though untaught." Being very pleased, Lord Brahma replied, "Since you are by nature inclined towards righteousness, although born a Rakshas, I shall grant you immortality on the level of chief demigods." Next, when Lord Brahma was about to offer Kumbhakarna a benediction, all the demigods accompanying him pleaded with folded hands, "This Rakshas is evil-minded. He has already devoured many 7 apsaras and 10 attendants of Indra, along with numerous rishis and human beings. His only business is to terrorize the entire universe, since he has already created so much havoc without any benediction. We think that he receives benedictions from you. He will surely devour the 3 worlds. O Lord, we request that you somehow cast a spell of delusion over Kumbhakarna on the pretext of granting a benediction." After carefully considering the demigod's request, Lord Brahma mentally summoned his consort, the goddess Saraswati, who came to his side. When the goddess Saraswati inquired, "Of what service can I be, Lord?" Brahma replied, "I want you to become the speech within Kumbhakarna's mouth." Thus it so happened that when Lord Brahma requested Kumbhakarna to take a benediction, the gigantic Rakshas replied, "If you wish to fulfill my desire, then allow me to sleep for many, many years." Lord Brahma immediately replied, "Let it be so." Then, just as the universal grandsire was about to depart with the goddess Saraswati and the demigods, Kumbhakarna came to his senses and wondered, "How did these disastrous words come out of my mouth? I must have been bewildered by the demigods." Thereafter the 3 brothers began to live happily within the forest. When Sumali learned that his 3 grandsons had received benedictions, he gave up all fear and came out of the nether regions. He was accompanied by his followers, including Marich, Prahast, Virupaksha, and Mahodar. Sumali immediately went to Dashagriva, and embracing him said, "By your mercy, our fear of Lord Vishnu, which caused us to flee Lanka, is now gone. Although Kuber is now occupying the kingdom of Lanka, it originally belonged to the Rakshasas. Therefore, my dear grandson, you should approach your half-brother and take back your rightful kingdom by request, gift, or if necessary, by force. If you can retrieve Lanka, then I promise to make you the king of the Rakshasas." However, Dashagriv replied, "My dear maternal grandfather, you should not speak like this, for Kuber is my elder half-brother." Being so admonished, Sumali remained silent. Later, Prahasta approached Dashagriv, saying, "You should know that for great heroes there is no question of so-called brotherly feelings getting in the way of self-interest. My dear Dashagriv, you should not have criticized Sumali, for he truly gave you the good advice. Just consider the sisters Diti and Aditi, who are both wives of Kashyap and mothers to demigods and demons. Long ago, the Daityas controlled the universe. Then later, with the help of Lord Vishnu, the 3 worlds came under the control of the Adityas. Thus, foremost of Rakshasas, you would not be the first to fight against your brother for sovereignty." In truth, the idea of conquering Lanka appealed to Dashagriva. After considering Prahasta's words for a time, he went with him to Trikut. Dashagriva first employed Prahasta as his diplomat, who politely requested Kuber to return Lanka to its rightful owners. However, after receiving Prahasta and hearing his proposal, Vaishravana replied, "This place was given to me by my father, therefore I am unwilling to give it up. However, if Dashagriva likes, he may certainly come here and share Lanka with me, allowing us to live without enmity." After Prahasta's departure, Kuber went to his father and explained Dashagriv's intentions. Vishrav then replied, "Dashagriv has already come here asking me to give him the kingdom of Lanka. However, I harshly rebuked him for his greediness. I warned him that if he went ahead with his plans to conquer and displace you, he would ultimately meet the destruction. Because of receiving benedictions from Lord Brahma, the Shagriv has become too proud and thus fails to discriminate between persons he should respect and those he need not. Now, due to my displeasure, he has become even more wicked-minded. Therefore, I recommend that you and your followers leave Lanka, take up residence in Kailash, and avoid antagonizing your arrogant half-brother. Thereafter, Kuber vacated Lanka. When Prahast informed Dashagriv, he entered the city and began to rule as king, being installed upon the throne by Rakshasas. Sometime later, Dashagriv gave his sister Shurpanakha in marriage to Danav king Vidyujivaha. Once thereafter, while roaming in the forest, Dashagriva happened to meet Mayadanava and his daughter. When Dashagriva asked him how he had come there, Mayadanav replied, "Long ago the Apsara named Hema was given to me in marriage. Thereafter I lived with her for thousands of years. Being very attached, I built a wonderful city for Hema made of gold and jewels. There, however, 14 years ago she left me to fulfill some purpose of the demigods. Overcome by grief, I left my beautiful city and am now wandering the forest hoping to find a suitable husband for my daughter. Besides this girl, I have got 2 sons through Hema, Mayavi and Dundubi. Now, if I may ask, who are you and what is your purpose in coming here?" When Maidanav learned his new acquaintance was the son of an eminent rishi, he decided to give him his daughter in marriage. Thus Mandodari married Dashagriv. So then Mandodari was Mayadanav's wife. Then Mayadanav gave his son-in-law the wonderful spear he had acquired after executing great austerities, which was later to severely wound Lakshman. After some time, Dashagriva arranged for Vajravala Bali Maharaja's granddaughter to marry Kumbhakaran and the daughter of Gandharv king to wed Vibhishan. Mandodari then gave birth to Meghnad, who later became to be known as Indrajit. So Meghnad later became to be known as Indrajit. Sometime later, drowsiness began overtaking Kumbhakaran because of Lord Brahma's curse. He then requested Dashagriva to build him a palace that was 16 miles long and 8 miles wide, with crystal and golden columns and stairways made of valuable gems. Thereafter, Kumbhakaran entered his palace and began sleeping for thousands of years. Meanwhile, the proud Dashagriva began killing demigods and rishis without restraint and destroying many of the heavenly pleasure gardens. Kuber soon learned of the degradation of his half-brother. Thus, out of family affection, he sent a messenger to Dashagriv, advising him to mend his evil ways, saying, "Once I happened to see Lord Shiva and his wife seated on the mountain peak in Himalayas, engaging in austerities. I was curious to see the goddess Uma, but as soon as I left my left eye fell upon her, it was immediately burnt. With my right eye turned grey. In fear, I quickly left that place and proceeded to perform austerities at another location in Himalayas, hoping to appease Lord Shiva. Finally, after the passage of 800 years, Lord Shiva was pleased to appear before me and offer his sincere friendship. Although the vision in my left eye was fully restored, the Lord informed me that my right eye would forever have to remain grey. O Dashagriva, upon my return home from performing these austerities, I came to learn of your misdeeds. Now, as your well-wisher and relative, I must warn you that the demigods are already planning to destroy you. You must rectify your behavior before it is too late." Upon hearing Kuber's message, Dashagriv remained inflamed with rage. He declared, "It was only out of respect for my elder half-brother that I remained patient." Hearing these insults, however, because of this rebuke, I am now determined to not only conquer the 3 worlds, but to kill the 4 Lokpals as well. Saying this, Dashagriv drew his sword and mercilessly struck down the messenger. Then, after feeding the messenger's body to the Rakshasas, Dashagriv mounted his chariot and started for the abode of Kuber, followed by the 6 ministers Mahodar, Prahast, Marich, Shukra, Saran, Dhumraksh. After flying to the sky for about an hour, Dashagriv came to Mount Kailash. Thus, when the Yakshas saw the Rakshasas, they approached Kuber and took his permission to fight. A fierce battle ensued, and it appeared that the Yakshas were getting the better of his ministers. Dashagriv took up his club and began smashing the enemy. Then, when the surviving Yakshas came to Kuber and informed him of the defeat, Kuber sent out another army. The Rakshasas then emerged victorious, and Dashagriv then entered the abode of Kuber. At the gate, a guard boldly blocked Dashagriva's entrance, and when Dashagriva attempted to push his way in, the guard smashed him over the head with a wooden post, causing him to bleed profusely. However, because of the benediction from Lord Brahma, Dashagriva could not be killed. He recovered and smashed the guard into a formless lump of flesh, causing the other yakshas to flee in fear. So we will continue our reading from here onwards next time. Thank you for joining. Hariam Tat Sat and Hare Krishna.